Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Olesia Kyselova, and I am a co-author of the research titled Creation the SiteQuest by using cloud services from the experience of teaching future teachers, together with Nataliia Khmil and Iryna Morkvian. Today's students will actively participate not only in consumption but also in the creation of information resources soon, regardless of their field of professional activity. One of the ways of raising to a new level of equality of education is the use of pedagogues in the educational process of gaming technologies, which are implemented through information and communication technologies, in particular cloud services. This allows to make the educational process both interesting and informative, promotes an increase of motivation, self-organization. This is achieved through the application of elements of gamification in the learning process, one of which is a web quest. However, the development of cloud technologies and their implementation in education require enhancing the ICT competence of future teachers. That is why, in this situation, the task to each pedagogical students to design and create sites using WebQuest technology or SiteQuest is becoming increasingly important. Today, the problem of the use of quests in the educational process is being actively studied by Dodge, March, Andreeva, Gapiev, Rinevich, and others. Researchers of Ukraine and foreign scientists show considerable attention to the issue of WebQuest development using various services and web applications. However, Nataliia Khmil draws attention to the fact that the scientific literature does not sufficiently cover the issue of theoretical and methodological substantiation of strategies, models of teaching future teachers, the effective use of cloud technologies in the modern educational process. We believe that one of these strategies is to attract higher education students to create SiteQuest with their help. The purpose of the article is to describe the methodology for teaching future teachers to create a SiteQuest using cloud services and to demonstrate relevant authors' experience. The formation of future teachers of general competences is facilitated by the use of specially organized educational sites in the educational process. In the scientific pedagogical literature, they are commonly referred to as WebQuest. In our study, a SiteQuest will be understood as an internet resource presented in the form of a site on which certain situations are modeled for students to carry out search activities to solve sequential and interconnected tasks. Cloud services are the most effective means of doing so. Cloud services used in the educational process can be systematized by purpose and their pedagogical capabilities, namely, services for preserving and publishing didactic materials, services for visualizing of educational information, services for creation interactive game exercises. This approach will allow us to demonstrate to future teachers a set of effective pedagogical scenarios for their use in the educational process when creating SiteQuest. Consider the methodology of teaching future teachers to create a SiteQuest by using cloud services. It can be represented as a scheme on the slide. The first stage of awareness of didactic opportunities of WebQuest in the educational process involves acquaintance of students with WebQuest technology, identification of its features, and identification of its application in the educational process. To do this, it is appropriate for students to be offered to complete a WebQuest in groups from 2 to 5 people. With the completion of the first stage, a scheme outlining the didactic capabilities of the WebQuest for the educational process should be created and in joint document. The second stage, determining the requirements for completing a SiteQuest and organizing its structure, involves discussing with students the structure and content of sites created using WebQuest technology. The result of the second stage is to create quality assessment forms jointly in the Google Docs and Google Forms by indicating the identified criteria. The purpose of the third stage, modeling the structure of the future SiteQuest, is to create a model for students of the structure of the future SiteQuest, indicating the content of its field. It is important to focus the attention of future teachers on a common set of tasks, the definition of their representation, and how they plan to organize the interaction of the participants of the quest. The result of the students' activity should be a jointly created model of the future site in the cloud services. The fourth stage of creating interactive didactic materials using the cloud services on the topic of the quest involves the systematization of students' knowledge of cloud services. The implementation of the fifth stage of creating a SiteQuest and filling it with relevant content involves the formation of skills for future teachers to jointly develop a map of the SiteQuest and filling its pages with relevant content. For the future teachers, to understand the importance of understanding the process of creating a SiteQuest for its further use in student learning, it is advisable to organize the final stage, reflection of student activity on the creation of a SiteQuest. It is aimed at developing students' ability to evaluate completed actions, to analyze the process of mental activity during the creation of a SiteQuest. Our methodology was tested in the process of teaching future elementary school teachers in the course Cloud Technologies in the Educational Process. Within the following topics: web-quest in the educational process, technology for developing web-based quests using cloud services, and creating a SiteQuest structure and filling it with content. In the lesson on the first topic, we have implemented the first two stages of the proposed methodology. In the second lesson, technology for developing web-based quests using cloud services, skills of development and creation of a model of future SiteQuest are formed. The first stage involved discussing the conclusions of an independent analysis of the quality of one of the proposed quests and defining the criteria for their evaluation, as well as jointly creating forms and Google Docs and Google Forms for assessing the quality of web quests, including SiteQuest. In the next lesson stage, students were asked to choose a topic and to formulate the purpose of creating a future site. Let's give us an example: the experience of teaching future teachers the creation of a SiteQuest School of Young Programmers. You can see the completed virtual interactive whiteboard for discussing the content and training forms of the selected topics. The result of the students' activity was the development of the structure of the future SiteQuest, the definition of content for its filling. The students also shared the responsibility of completing their chosen task. The third lesson, creating a site structure and filling content of Quest, was the final joint creation by students of the Site School of Young Programmers. Using Google Site, its presentation, and subsequent reflection, students analyzed the site created, determined whether the learning aim has been achieved, discussed the advantages and disadvantages of organizing their joint activities to create a SiteQuest using cloud services. So we have developed a methodology of training the creation of a SiteQuest by using cloud services, which involves 6 stages. Students will be able to apply the acquired skills to create pedagogical scripts of WebQuest and appropriate didactic tools for their realization using cloud services, in particular when having pedagogical practice. In the future, their competencies will become the basis for innovations in professional activity. Thank you for attention. Please feel free to ask questions.